Okie dokie. So hello, thank you for meeting with me. I really appreciate it. This is my spiel I give every time. Um, so to get started, I am thinking of writing a story about cars that my family has owned over the years, and since you are my father, and you that makes you my family, I thought maybe it'd be really cool
So,
if I could ask you about some of the cars that you've had over the years, but specifically your favorite car that you've owned so far.
my favorite car that I've owned so far
Yeah.
would have to be my 1989 Chevy S10 pickup. I bought it in July of '91, traded in my old '98 for it, and it had a lowering kit on it. It was already lowered. It was 3 inches in the rear and two in the front. They used lowering blocks and drop spindles on it, so it already came and it had some nice wheels on it.
How old were
So
you when you had it? Like,
20. I got it when I was 20.
how did you get it? Like, you
I
said
I
you
traded
traded
in.
it in, but like, what made
I
you?
traded. Well, I've been looking for a car for a little bit because the car I was driving was kind of having some issues. So I was going around to different places and looking. I was just looking at maybe just like another sedan or something. Nothing spectacular standing out. And I just happened to come across this truck. I was not in the market for a truck at all. So
What color was it?
black had matching black rims on it.
Now,
Had
what?
those little flipper caps on it. You could see when you drove down the road, you could see like a little spinning around there. It's kind of neat.
Did you soup it up?
Not really, no. As far as performance wise, no, I kept it pretty much the same.
So, like, did you do anything to it to make it Brian's truck?
Yeah, I got some rims for it, and I did a little tape stripe job on the tailgate, and I put a stereo system in it.
Is that the one that got the stereo system stolen?
No, that was the next one. That was the Blazer that had the.
Let's talk about the Blazer then. What made
Oh
you
yeah,
desert?
the Blazer. I kind of want. I saw a picture of one in a magazine. I liked how it looked. So I was kind of a couple years after I bought the truck, I was started looking to see what Blazers were out there. So it had to be two-wheel drive so I could do the same thing with the lowered suspension, everything on it. And there was uh there was one I did find that had everything I was looking for, but they sold it before I had to sell my truck in order to get the money to put down on it. So, but they sold the Blazer before I could get the truck sold. So I kind of put it on hold for about a year. And then I would say it's probably about August, September '94. I started looking again. I found a nice four-door Blazer, but the monthly payments were just a little too high for me. I couldn't quite swing those. So I found about a month or so later, I found a two-door one. It was two-tone blue. So I got that one. The day I sold my truck, I put it on Auto Trader. Back when it was a magazine, the internet wasn't even a thing back then. So this was 1994. I did this. So I put an ad in. About a week or two later, somebody from Newton Falls, as a matter of fact, they came and bought it. They had it. The last time, I think it was 2000, even back to as recently as 2000, they still had the truck.
How'd you
So
how'd you find that out?
I remember where the guy lived, and I was driving. I was at the car show in Newton Falls. It was on that road, the Warren Ravenna Road or whatever. the road that Y's off of the bypass. You know, when you go the one way you go into Newton Falls, you go that little Y.
Mhm.
You're heading out of center of the world, and you make that Y. He lived on that road, so I knew because I drove it. I drove it. I drove it home when he bought it. I drove it to his house, and then he drove me back home because he picked me up to get the money to pay for it and to switch the transfer the title and everything to get the title because I still had a small amount on my loan to pay on it. So we did the title transfer at the bank. So we did that, and then we picked up the truck at my house, and then I drove it to his place, and then he drove me back home. So that's how that worked.
I feel
But
like.
anyway,
Go ahead.
back to the Blazer. I bought it. I drove it. I went a couple of weeks later. I knew a kid that he worked at a stereo shop. So I went to where he was at, and he put a nice stereo in it, just like I had in my pickup. Same setup. It was just a head unit. It was 12-inch pair of 12-inch kicker boxes and a 150-watt amp under the back seat. Nothing outlandish, but anyway, it was Halloween night. I'll never forget. I come out of work and it's not there. It's gone. No sign of broken glass anywhere, nothing. So I'm like, okay. Yeah, I'm holding the keys in my hand. So I called the police to report it and everything. They come and get it. I mean, they come and I fill out the report. It's like, he asked me if I left the keys in it. I'm like, I'm holding hello, keys. Anyway, about a week later, they found it.
How?
They
Like, how
it
do
was
you,
on a what's that?
how do you find something in a car? Like, was it not?
No, they found the car about a week later out in Kinsman on a gas well road. They just ditched it. I guess the county sheriffs found it. They towed it back in. So
What did you do in the meantime? Like, you needed.
I had insurance gave me a rental car, a little Ford Escort. I was able to use that till they got mine up and running.
Did you like
Yeah,
Escort?
it was a car. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, it's almost like it was like a penalty box more or less, but it wasn't bad for what it was. I mean,
It drove, right?
it drove. It got me to where I needed to be. It did the things I needed it to do. It lasted me about a month. But yeah, I got that. I got it back after about a month. Yeah, because I think it was December 2nd. It was ready to roll because after they found it, I had to get a shop lined up and everything, get everything done with it. So I got that. The insurance was covering it all. So I think I only had to pay like $135 because the wheel, I had the rims and tires. I took the ones off my truck. I'd bought some rims and I put them on the Blazer and they replaced with brand new tires and brand new rims, I was lucky because they had discontinued that style of rim. So it was like you the last ones we had there. So I got lucky there.
Did they
Anyway,
say anything about how it got stolen? Like how they got it running and going?
they busted the steering column.
Oh, okay.
They popped the ignition out and just hot wired it. When they brought it, they recovered it. I had to get out of the sheriff's department down was on Elm Road. They had it in like a big garage. Yeah, I went and looked at it. I saw what it was. They had it on like donuts. They put donuts on it, and they had it. So, yeah, the interior was trashed. I mean, they ripped. I mean, they just ripped the dash out of it.
But it was Halloween night, Dad.
Yeah, trick or treat, you know.
Okay, I'm gonna switch it up. What was the car that you've had that you've hated the most or disliked the most?
The one I disliked the most. Oh, I can't really say I disliked any of the cars I had. I mean that little vibe we had for about a year was probably the closest thing because the wheel bearings were going. We only had that car a year, and it only had maybe 30,000 miles when I got rid of it. But the front wheel bearings were going bad. It was chewing up the tires.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it would covered under warranty, but I mean, it's like I mean, that's too soon for that stuff. And then the irony is we traded it for that Bonneville, and we went through how many sets of wheel bearings on that car? About 4 or 5.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
dangerous.
Uh-huh. No kidding.
That reminds me, I should probably get mine checked.
I think yours are fine actually, unless they do because I know that the Toyota ones were bad. I had them replaced on the Toyota. And that's kind of what I'm kind of wondering about with this car I'm looking at tomorrow, like supposed to pick up tomorrow. I wonder if it's going to be an issue with that. So,
How have the vehicles you've driven changed with time, like in terms of technology and stuff like that?
well, I think the most technologically advanced, I mean, that I've driven like overall, not necessarily mine, but the ones I've owned. Is that what you mean?
Well, just like, okay, so like, what is not, what was not in, say, the Blazer or the S10 that you would just readily find now? You know what I mean? Like,
Airbags.
there we go, there we go. What like, have cars gotten harder or easier to drive? Like, is there a difference?
Well, I mean the Buick that I'm driving now, that's Brandy's, is really easy to drive. It's nice. I mean, I had to drive it in that winter storm we had recently, and it was easy. It just plowed through the snow like it's so. And that little Toyota Yaris I was driving in the winter was nice in the snow too. But probably the best car we've ever had for the winter was that old Dodge Caravan.
Vinny!
That was great in the snow. Because we had that was a year we had that really nasty winter, and and it's too bad the transmission went out in that thing and the body was rotted out pretty bad. Or I think I would have been fine holding on to that as a work car.
You should find one.
I've thought about it because I actually had a few in mind. I actually saw a couple I had that were listed because in my search for a cheap work car, I mean, I did find a couple that were like $1,700, but they were a little farther away than. I mean, not yeah. I'm driving to Newcastle to pick up a car tomorrow. So, yeah,
Newcastle must be the place for cars.
this lot that I'm going to as a whole, it's probably got about 50, at least 50 cars on this little field here. It's like a little field
Oh.
heading out of this town.
Um,
I mean, it's
well, I guess I
well,
definitely reached the amount of time I need. So, is there anything else that I didn't ask about that you want to share?
Um,
Car related.
sure. Oh boy. I mean, there's lots. I mean, I don't know if you probably don't have that much time, but I think in the span of time that we've covered, I think it's pretty good.
Okay. I appreciate you taking the time to do this with me.
It's not a problem. I enjoyed it.
Okie dokie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording now.
Okay, how do I turn this